We had taken a moratorium from talking about breach stories, breach fatigue, as Peter put it. But here we go. Sometimes there's nothing you can do. Breaches in the news are breaches in the news. Not so critical update. I grouped all these stories together because that's what makes them interesting, right? So we had three. I have the wrong story on the screen. Let's talk about this one. All right. I grouped these stories together because I can't bear to do three different segments on three different breaches. But we had a couple cases recently. California Pizza Kitchen breached, I think it was 103,000 employee records, including social security numbers. Personal health information compromised in 2 data breaches, affecting almost 3 million patients in the U.S. And then we had a GoDaddy hack, which has been pretty big in the news lately, affecting 6 or 7 providers of WordPress hosting and 1.2 million customers. So lots of fun breach news this week, guys.
Yeah.
What new do we have to say about breaches?
There's only one. There's usually at least one breach story in our little collection of links that we talk about before we start the show. And I put the first one on as like hey, it's got to have at least one each week. And then another one happened, and then another one happened, and it just got kind of like, Mike said at the beginning that you're trying to find it hard to care. I think it was something like that, right? Are you a bad person for not caring?
It just happens all the time, or that I don't care about the breaches at all.
Yeah, right. So it just happens so often with so many like vast numbers of people, and it's just like, oh God, another one. It's difficult to care, but at the end of it, it's a real person behind there that's had their medical records leaked or something. It's terrible, really.
Well, I've been thinking a lot about why I do or don't or should or shouldn't care. And I feel like I've made a little bit of progress on clarifying that, but I'll save that towards
becoming
the
a
end.
good person.
No, that's absolutely not what's happening.
This is the redemption arc for Mike.
I'm doubling down. I didn't say which side I came out on yet. Just that I'm deciding why I do or maybe don't care. But so one question I had about the California Pizza Kitchen article in particular, like when I first saw it, and I think it was in the headline, so maybe I should just read better. But like I thought, well, it's different if it's employee data or customer data. And I feel like it's worse if it's employee data that's leaked versus customer data. Do you agree with that?
Which is kind of a messed up bias to have.
Yeah, I don't really understand why it would be. It's still people at the end of the day that have.
It
depends on the type of information,
right? But the way I see it is, they are not customers. Customers are paying for a service, and they need to provide their details. Employees are being like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that we're putting our trust not for a service, but for our livelihood.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like as if my information's gotten, I'm part of breaches. All of you guys are. Most likely all of the people watching the show are also part of the breaches. What I've never been a part of is on the employee side. I think it is the employer's duty to safeguard this even more so than customer data, if possible. Of course, in a perfect world, everything should be locked down. But
it's the same information, ultimately. But I think, like you said, the distinction to me is I don't trust anybody I don't trust people I do business with anyway. So if they betray me, I expect it. Right? I expect my employer to try and take care of me. So that feels like more of a betrayal, not that the breach itself is worse necessarily.
What about the healthcare breaches, though? like the customer is the patient in that case, and what about if their data gets leaked?
Yeah, and so just for context, John mentioned about everybody's already been breached. Peter, you and I looked into this, and John had seen this before too.
Okay.
There's a site that shows. Do I have it loaded here? Let's see. I probably didn't prepare that much.
It's the HIPAA Hall of Shame.
Yeah, and it
That's
shows
a
all the
good-
breaches that happened in the past and are currently being investigated. And I think we found it was 313 million breached records, which is very close to the entire population of the United States. But that's not to say that it was.
I wanted to explain a bit more about the data sets here, because I thought they were really interesting. Either way, any way you look at this is just awful. But so the under investigation list of breaches is any HIPAA violation which is over 500 people. And the under investigation went back to 2019, almost 2 years exactly a couple of days ago, 2 years. And just that data set was something like 53 million. And each one was listed where it happened, where it was stolen from, and the number of individuals affected. So we added up the number of individuals affected. So there's going to be a lot of duplicates, or people have had their data leaked multiple times.
But instances, yeah.
Yeah, if you took half of it was individual, like 25 million, and the other half was just, all the duplicates, it's still bonkers. And then there's an archive section which goes back to 2009 and had, I think, 3,400 listed breaches in there, which is insane.
Yeah.
Which that added up to 200 and something million, and together those numbers were 313 million. I mean, that's crazy. Wow.
So is that worse?
Why do we just go and print out copies of our medical records and throw them to the
So is that worse than employee information or customer information, or the same?
I think PHI is like the single most sensitive data about you, arguably more sensitive than your social security number. This is what you've talked to your therapist about, what you have been diagnosed with. If anything, it has some of your most, it's your deepest, sometimes darkest secrets are health records, and that is very, very serious to have that information leaked about a person. It can be used in so many different ways that are malicious. It's so much more than an employee getting their shit leaked or a customer getting their information leaked. I think when we're talking about PHI, there's a reason why this HIPAA Hall of Shame exists. It's to deter and kind of what's the word I'm looking for? To push these companies, MSPs, health insurance providers, hospitals, to take the best care of the data. Clearly, it's not enough, but yeah, it's very unfortunate. And I think when you said that there's a breach here, there's a breach there. Every day we have a new breach now. Something popped into my head, and I think that the issue, a big issue, is we've made all of these cool advancements in technology, but we're still using the same form of authentication that we have for the last 40 odd years, 50. Actually, if you count, lock, we've been using passwords and passcodes for a very long time. And I think passwords are the main issue. We've talked about passwords before and how do we solve that? And we spoke about biometrics. And I don't have a solution, but the current method is broken.
It's okay, mate. Don't worry. I think half of Silicon Valley has a solution for us that they want to sell us.
Figure it out. But it's not the password itself, right? These stories, we don't hear about people using quantum computers to decrypt or guess complex passwords. Right. What we hear about is somebody stumbled across an old account, or it was written on somebody's desk, or it was emailed in plain text, or it's always, as the Colonial Pipeline story House Oversight Committee last week showed, it's always just simple, small lapses in security that cause these problems. But that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not that hackers are. I mean, in some cases they are, sure, but these passwords aren't being compromised through technology. They're being compromised through people most of the time, I think.
Yeah.
I think John's got kind of a point that there's a lot of, like, passwords are the most common authentication method, and they're usually insecure, and I think they're a common reason why, you know, someone's account will be compromised and they will have access to all this stuff, and that's how a lot of stuff gets leaked. But there's also stuff like open databases and, you know, vulnerabilities on servers and
sure.
all that kind of stuff as well. Yeah,
good.
It's pretty horrible, really. But
you want my
I think the problem is I was going to say, actually, the similar point to that investigation by the Oversight Committee, which is that there aren't robust systems in place.
Yeah.
What's the big reveal? Go on.
And like in the California Pizza Kitchen case, like it was an old compromised account. If you had audit policies and password expiration policies and all that in place, these things wouldn't happen. I'm sure in most of the HIPAA cases also. So to this, I've said before, like I don't care about breaches. Whatever. If everyone is compromised, nobody's compromised. That's kind of my standard for all this. And especially if we're looking at the HIPAA breaches, 313 million records. Like it's not every person, but it's as many records as people. So chances are you were compromised in at least one of these. And like Jon said, everybody has been somewhere. The argument, I think, is that we protect this data because it's valuable. So why don't we take better care of it? As consumers, why are we so willing to give it away? As service providers or employers, why don't we do a better job of taking care of it? And I was trying to think about, like, if it was a bank, if we were talking about cash is valuable, right? If my bank, or if there were news stories about banks saying, oh man, hackers managed to penetrate 1 million of our customers' accounts and extract money from every single one, people would take action. They'd stop doing business at that bank. But this happens every day with our personal information and nobody cares. So I think it feels important and we say it's important, but we don't act like it's important. And that's kind of like, I think the conclusion is that it's really not that important. If you're giving your information to somebody who's already been compromised and you know can't trust with it, you wouldn't do that with the bank because you don't trust the bank and your cash is important and you want to take care of it. But you do it with your personal information all the time.
You're right, but I think that's just because people don't understand.
I'm just going to cut there. All right, thanks. Good episode. Here we go. Say that again, Peter, for the recording.
You're right, but I don't quite agree with you. I don't know, mate. It's so annoying because you've gone from people aren't complaining to therefore it doesn't matter. But that just means that they don't understand what's happening or what's going on with it. We came up with this figure of 313 million individuals affected by these breaches, right? That matters.
But there are people who understand, and they still treat their data this way. You use these same platforms.
Yeah, but I know what kind of data is being submitted, and I'm not. You have to trust things online, right? You have to have a certain level of assumption of trust. So when you submit your credit card to your bank, you have to believe that it's not going to be compromised, even though it happens all the time, and you've got no choice, really.
That's not true.
But as far as, well, how are you going to order your, I don't know, mini fridge overnight from Amazon?
I mean, not in the middle of the night, but if there were news stories about banks being compromised, people would take action because they take that seriously. If people don't take their personal information seriously, that's fine. I don't. Whatever. But again, that's not inviting identity theft, right? That's still illegal. That's still a problem. Identity management is a huge problem.
You heard it here first, guys.
But there's no.
Mike is saying it's fine to.
Let me be clear. I do not want to have my identity stolen.
I think that's the third time I've heard you say it now. Yeah.
Do not steal my identity.
You heard it. Steal is an S. Kidding.
Oh man, selective editing. Oh damn, comes back to
Yeah.
bite me in the ass. But that's my. Go ahead, John.
No. I was just gonna wrap up. There isn't much to say. I think it's the boy who cried breach is what it is. And
Very good.
I know it's like it just comes out of me. And it's like the more we hear it and the more we see it, the less we're gonna care. And even now, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna talk about another set of 3 breaches, and it's like,
Do you know what it
but it is so important that we do.
I think I might mention this before, but there's a saying about how killing one person is murder, killing 10 people is serial murder, but killing 1 million people is just war, I think. So
Or
it's not
genocide, depending on who you are.
well, yeah, if it's for one group of people, but it's
right,
like it
yeah,
goes from
you're
really
right.
personal and
It's taking the micro out of it, and once it goes onto a macro scale, I don't think anyone understands the scale of the data or the severity, and you compound that over and over and over again, and now we're at new breaches every. It's totally cool with this now. This is okay now.
But if it was our money,
is a normal thing.
We would care. If it was our money, we would care. We wouldn't get distracted. We wouldn't become desensitized to it because that's what we care about. We just don't care about our information.
Hold on a second. I feel like I smell politics. Mike?
What?
Let's cook it.
I would never bring politics into the show.
I think it's time to end the segment.
All right. We just
Thanks for listening, guys.
What was the political? I didn't even understand that. What do you mean?
Oh, just that you're saying like everyone's a capitalist. That's all they care about is money.
Well, systemically,
you said we only care about care about money. We don't care about our own IDs. That to me, that's like inherently that's political.
Okay, but systemically, I mean, the evidence supports that.
100%.
Okay.
100 agreed, including me. I love money. Are you kidding?
People don't know the value of their own data.
That's
exactly.
But that's value is what people say it is. Why are we still go? This is what happens. Now we can't edit.
Okay. All right, Kai. Let's go to the next one.